Okay, hi, angels. Welcome to the Honest Hand Show. My name is Hannah, and I am your host. I basically am creating this show to give women of faith, and really anyone who maybe doesn't feel like they fit into the typical norm, a place to discuss God, to discuss divinity, the divine self, and discuss how we can have real loving relationships with other people. And today I am here with Brendon. He is amazing. He is a music producer and an artist and a creator and so many cool things, as well as a father, which is super awesome. And he's coming in here today to talk about his experience leaving the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and what he learned in that experience, and also what we can do as members to better support people in that journey. A lot of what I am doing here with my content is to really just create a space where people feel safe to express themselves, regardless of where they're at with faith, with spirituality. I personally am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I really value empathy and love and learning about different people's perspectives. And I and Brendon as well have just seen a lot kind of this being a tenuous point online right now to figure out, okay, how can people in the church and those who have left the church be friends, really? So the title of this episode is Can Ex-Mormons and Mormons Be Friends? And we just are going to come together and have a conversation about that. So anything you want to say about who you are,
so
Brendon?
Cool. This is so cool. Like, I really think this is such a worthwhile way to spend our time. I think that, I don't know, the you and I met, like 6 months ago, something like that, at an event, and we talked for a few hours, me, and a couple of other ex-Mormons, and then a couple of active members of the church. And that was such a good conversation. I feel like I went back to my girlfriend and told her about that. I was like, we just had like this really interesting conversation with people that really wanted to hear our side of the story, as well as like we kind of covered a lot of these topics I think we want to talk about today when we were there. And so it's good to just be together and explore these things with people that I feel like have talked about this before, So I'm excited, and I appreciate you giving a space to talk about these kinds of things.
Yeah, thank you. I was Brendon and I have only met one other time. So this is the second time that we're meeting, but I was equally as impressed with him and his kindness and his empathy and his compassion when we did meet a few months ago. And we both wanted to bring that to you guys on social media and to the screen so that we can better navigate this point together. We know a lot of people in the church are facing it, a lot of families, I have many friends who have left the church as well. And we just hope that having this conversation brings a lot of empathy, love, and insight into how you and how the people around you can better come together in love. Everything that I do is for the sake of love and helping people feel more love. So let's get maybe into it a little bit.
Awesome.
So tell me, because we did talk 6 months ago, but it's been a while, maybe talk to me a little bit about just your background first, your background in general, but also your background with the church, like where you're from, where'd you grow up? What was your experience like in the church?
So I grew up in Utah County. I kind of bounced between like Lehigh, Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain, that area. And I come from a long generation of members of the church. So we go back to the Martin Handcart Company.
Oh, the pioneers.
As far as you can go. On both sides of my family, actually. So,
oh, wow. Deep into it.
My family has worked for the church multiple generations back. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, we've just been very, very closely tied to it. Born and raised in Utah. I served a mission in Virginia and North Carolina. Was married in the temple. Like I've kind of done the. You
did the whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh wow. I don't think I was aware of that part. I knew you had served a mission because I think we had talked about that, but I didn't know about the marriage.
Yeah.
So how soon after you came home from your mission did you get married?
Pretty quickly. I
Okay.
would say not like insanely quickly. I think I was like 23, 24. So that had been a couple years
Okay.
after coming back.
Oh, wow. And
but
can I
yeah.
ask how old you are right now?
I'm
Just
31.
Okay. So for time reference, it's been like 6 or 7 years since you were married in the temple. Okay. Wow. So yeah, that's like the typical path for members of the church in Utah. Was that, you know, growing up, was there any kind of like, okay, someday, you know, maybe I'm having questions about this or I don't believe. Oh, okay.
No,
so
I
it
was like the
like
most like, this is where it's really hard. You look at me with like how I look now and who I am now, but like people that knew me back then, I like believed it like insanely strong.
yes.
And I was like a really faithful missionary. Didn't break any rules. I did one bad on my mission, and that was my companion was sick, and he was like, "We're gonna watch a movie today," and I was like, "No, we can't do that. We can't break the rules." And it was The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which is like the most depressing. And so I felt so bad. I was like, not only did I break the commandments, but like it was a terrible movie too. Like I feel terrible about it. But no, I really believed it and was very much into it. And
man, that mission guilt is crazy though.
It is. Did you go on a mission?
I did.
Oh, yeah. You know how it is. You're like,
and I was very obedient. I was.
So was I. Super obedient.
Yeah. I can see. Sorry, continue.
No, it's okay. Yeah, and like I really believed in it, and a lot of the ways that you approach things remind me of how I was in the church, because I would say that I was like a progressive member.
Yes.
I was very much like on the same thing, like trying to foster, and a lot of people are. This isn't something that's unique.
It's not just two of us.
No, it's not just two of us. A lot of people like this, where it's like I understood that there was differences and people have different points of view, but it was always about like the message of that I really resonated with when I would teach in missionary lessons was that there was a loving God, and that he understood all of our situations perfectly to where that judgment didn't need to be there. We just try to find the commonalities rather than the differences. And that was something that was like always really important to me.
That's awesome.
And so I would say that I really, really did believe it. I was really in it. I gave a lot of myself to it in callings, in my mission.
Right.
For until I was 26.
Okay. Yeah. So 26. So talk to us about that. You had been married for 2 years at that point, or
somewhere around there. I might be off on the timeline a little bit. I'm just trying to think of like what year I got married, what year I started leaving. When it was 2020 was kind of the year where things started to change for me. So that would be about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing some of those things that led to that change?
Yeah, I think I was very solid on it. I think the things that started, if I'm being honest, I think what happened was there kind of became near 2020, 2019, 2018, some things that just didn't sit right with me. And those were some of like the policies with like LGBTQ, some of the history with like people of color. Yeah. And just like more like social issues that I just was having a hard time like understanding. I wouldn't say justifying is the right word, or just like making sense of that within the belief system that I had. And so that was like the first thing that kind of started turning for me. And I was just like, I don't know if like my heart can like I hear the reasons why these things could be potentially viable, but it just like it's not like sticking for me.
Yeah.
And then when the church asked people to stop coming to church for a bit because of COVID.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow, when did the church do
they
that?
just basically said let's switch to online.
Yes,
they were doing that, which
yes.
is I'm not dogging that at all.
Right. Yeah.
But that was a point where I just realized like some of the anxiety that I had been experiencing about kind of like the not understanding where those fit for me started to dissipate when I stopped going. And I had been so like I went to church every single week, like calling, like showing up. And so it didn't really make sense for me because I was like, okay, like if I'm going to church is supposed to help you feel closer to the spirit, supposed to help you feel better. But like I'm not going and I'm feeling better. So like, what is that? That doesn't make sense to me. And I didn't, it was really hard at first because I was like, I feel like I'm sinning. Kind of the same thing as like on the mission where it's like, I did something bad and I have like this insane guilt.
Right.
But that was the reality that I faced where I was like, I stopped going and I started feeling better. So I was just like, what does this mean? You know?
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with me. That is really personal and vulnerable because that's so scary to have I mean, your entire life, especially you grew up in Utah, grew up in a pioneer, long, generational family, members of the church. And just to be like, okay, I mean, I served a mission. I got married in the temple. I did everything right. And then all of a sudden, I'm feeling better.
Yeah, it's like, why isn't this working for me?
Yes.
Like, I feel like I had lived the prescription that
Yes.
like I've been told by family and by my mission president and like all these things. And I was genuinely, earnestly trying to make it work.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working for me. So it was like this, like, the best way I can put it is distress. It was distressing.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It was like very distressing.
Right, yeah. I was going to say, talk to me a little bit more about the emotions of that experience, because coming from being very dedicated and very devout, and then suddenly you're just not feeling as good at church, or suddenly you're feeling less anxious. Obviously you're feeling less anxious, but then distress, what other emotions?
Well, I think it kind of became, it was just like, if I question this and I go down this route, like, what does that mean for like everything in my life? Family relationships, community relationships, like my relationship with God, like, what does this all mean? It was almost like this can of worms that I didn't want to open up, because this, like, belief system had worked for my family for so long.
Right.
And that was kind of like what had been passed down. That was like the thing that was most important in my family. So it was like, I felt like I was the first one in my generation that I knew of that was having these issues and these problems. And it felt very like isolating, because,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Especially, and I think this is something I want to talk about as we go on as well, is that when people do leave the church or any belief system, whether it has nothing to do with it. I have a friend who's Muslim, and they left, they're like ex-Muslim. And their experience was very similar to mine. It was like shocking almost when we talked about it.
Oh, interesting.
About like, it is just, when it's tied to community, it's tied to family, it's tied to friends, it's tied to like where I went to school.
Right.
It's like, there's so much to it that when it all kind of comes crumbling down in a way. And so it just felt, I didn't know who I could talk to about it, who was safe to talk to about it. I didn't know like how to resolve it. Every time I tried to talk to people, it just was kind of like excused, like my questions were excused. And I was like, I'm genuinely asking here. I'm actually trying to like resolve this with me so I can continue to be a faithful member of the church, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's where I approached it from. It was like, I have this dissonance in me. I'm not sure. Through prayer, scripture study, it's not like being resolved for me. So it's a very like scary experience to like look into the void and say, maybe I was wrong. You know what I mean? And it's not fun. And it only has downsides because it's like your family's disappointed. Your friends are concerned about you. And you're kind of in this dance with your own honesty saying, do I be true to myself and like explore this vein, or do I sit down and shut up? And it's like, those are the options. And it's not an easy crossroads to find yourself at. And it's not often on purpose. It just kind of like happens. It just kind of happened one day where I couldn't like not justify it. Don't think that's the right word. I couldn't make peace with it.
Man. Wow. Yeah. I can't imagine how scary and how, I've had my own personal experiences with fear and shame and questioning, and not to say that I'm trying to compare your experiences to my experience, but it's so scary and it's really hard. And I really relate to feeling like, okay, I feel called in a certain direction and the other people around me don't.
They don't get it, or they just don't understand it.
Yeah. Like, I feel like recently with the path that I've taken in terms of, like I'm trying to start my own business and be a creator and all these different types of things. There is like a lot of misunderstanding with that. And I feel like, especially in your case where it's like everything was tied to your faith, that just like amplifies everything. Like not even, it's like there was no part of your life that wasn't attached to the church. Yeah. Or that wasn't attached to your faith.
I went to LES high school. I went to BYU, went on a mission, got married in the temple. Like I was like as locked in as I could be.
Oh gosh.
And I did that on purpose because I believed it.
Of course,
And I really wanted to like stay close to it. I wanted to be a priesthood holder. I wanted to I wanted to do all that genuinely.
Yeah, I didn't even know LDS high schools were a thing until I moved to Utah. So that's even like a further like commitment.
Yeah, it just had always been around, and I think that was the thing. It was like okay until it wasn't, and I can't explain that in any like. I think it's really easy to say from a member's perspective, and this is something that I really would like to. I hope that we get through today.
Yeah,
in explaining is that. It is hard to feel left behind as a member of the church when someone leaves, and it's hard to leave. It's hard for both people. And I think that's just kind of a reality of working with people that have different beliefs and different experiences is that you have to be able to learn to hold space for that. And I think that goes for ex-Mormons just as much as it goes for people who are in the church, because it's really easy when you leave to feel. I mean, a lot of I'm sure you've seen it, but a lot of the rhetoric about the church is very negative. People calling it a cult, people like being very inflammatory in their language about the institution, and that puts people on defense.
For sure, it
does. Whether or not it's true, the way that they're choosing to like go about explaining it is, in a lot of cases, not helpful, if that makes sense. And so I think it's really easy for a person when they've gone through this journey internally, they may be getting pushback from community or family members to lash out at somebody. And I think a good example is like that conversation that you had online with somebody who you were just sharing your beliefs and someone who had left the church came on and started just like basically making fun of you. And that's not cool. Like that's not cool because they don't know you. And in fact, when I look at that, I see somebody who has they're angry at the institution, but they don't have a place that they can put that anger. So they're just picking somebody who is putting themselves out there to get that anger out. And so it's like, that's not cool. I don't think that's cool. But at the other side, what I would like to maybe say is to people who are in the church that when you have your reality crumble in front of you and you don't know up from down, left from right, it's very easy to get lost and upset and angry. And it really feeds into that narrative of, oh, they've lost the light in their eyes. They've like, gone to the dark side, but that's not really what, in my experience, is the reality of what they're experiencing. And I would just hope that you could see that it's not about you. It's about someone's feelings towards an institution that they can't like fully adequately express, or they don't have a place to put that energy. And so it gets picked on. And it's like, I just would hope that that I don't think that was personal from that person. I think that's what it is. It's somebody who's in a lot of pain. They don't know where to put that pain. And so they're going out and putting it onto other people. It's not an excuse to do that. Like, but that might explain why people in the church get that reaction. They see ex-Mormons leave and they get angry and they get bitter and they take it out on them. But it's like if the person that has left the church takes some time to think about it, it's like you were that person 6 months ago. You were that person, 3 years ago. And it's like, it's not an excuse. Like if someone would have done that to you, it would have been just as wrong as you doing it to them. You know what I mean? And so I think like me, I'm still critical of the institution of the church, but I've learned that that is not something that I take up with any one individual. Like there's so many good people of all sorts of different belief systems that I don't believe. You know what I mean? But we're still friends. It's like, I don't believe in Islam. I don't believe in, but that doesn't mean that those aren't great people that have fantastic points of view and things to add. And it doesn't give me liberty to be a jerk.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing all of those perspectives and all of those experiences, because I think it's important for everybody to hear, regardless of if they are in the church or if they've left the church, or even people who have nothing to do with the church. Because the reality is like life is about learning to live with people who are different than you. And so even if someone is listening to this and it's not because they're Mormon or ex-Mormon, they're dealing with some other difference or difference of belief or something, those points are very important, because in terms of you just talking a lot about your personal experience of pain, of staring into that void. I mean, that's such a powerful imagery of like, here you were your entire life and you're standing at the edge of a cliff, essentially feeling like, do I jump off of this or not? Because if I jump off of this, my life is never going to be the same.
And not jumping feels disingenuous.
Yes.
It feels dishonest.
Yes.
So if I was just to close my eyes and say, I'm just going to put it like on the shelf, or I'm going to not address it, that becomes an issue. And that's a choice that people make. And I'm not,
for sure.
But I couldn't do that choice, if that makes sense. So, like I value honesty. I really do. I value authenticity and genuineness. And that means having uncomfortable conversations sometimes, having difficult conversations with yourself and others.
Amen. I mean, this is why you're on the Honest Hand Show, because I also value honesty and authenticity. And yeah, I mean, all of my friends and people that I know who have left the church, the majority is because they feel like it's not authentic to them anymore. They feel like you were saying, like, if I don't go down this path, it's going to be disingenuous for me.
I feel like there was a period for like a year to 2 years where I had to like rethink everything I had thought, because so much of my beliefs had become of what Spencer Kimball said, or what Gordon B. Hinckley said, or what this Book of Mormon prophet said. And so for me, it was like, if I no longer accept that as like my absolute source of truth, well, then what does that mean for like how I view human sexuality, or how I view like, there's just all sorts of different things that, and this is where it kind of comes down to, is that any belief system, what is the positive of that? It gives you answers to the chaos that is life. There's so many things that go on that are very difficult for us to understand and make peace with. And belief systems are a way for our brains to be able to kind of categorize and put those things into things that make sense for us and allow us to keep going forward. And so for me, I think deconstruct is an interesting word. It's where it's like you have to, it's more of a re-examination, where it's like you're re-examining what you believe on different topics. It's not just an overarching belief. It's like, how do I feel about everything? And I think it was interesting because I, at that time, also like deconstructed my political beliefs and like just overall like my view of, is there a God? Like these all kind of came into question once I was willing to question my beliefs. It kind of all came, and it was like, okay, now that I'm in this spot where I'm willing to do that, I kind of want to like re-examine everything. You know what I mean? I want to like have the chance to re-examine everything. Some things stayed. Like I would say there's definitely some principles that have stayed from my upbringing that are good. I think there's a lot of good things in the church. I think there's a lot of good people in the church. But there's things that have adjusted. And I think those are based off of how I feel about it and like the information I have. I'm probably wrong too. Like that's the truth of it is like, 100 years ago, some dude would have been right that's saying that like horse and buggy is the fastest mode of travel. Now, not so much. Like things change. We're all probably wrong in a lot of ways about a lot of things that we think. But I think that it's our right to be able to examine that, and we have the agency to do that for a reason.
Do you think there is anything that could have been done, or because as you're talking, I have a couple thoughts, and one of them is I just feel sad that you didn't feel like you could explore or re-examine all of those things inside the church or in a community with members. Because one of my goals is to create safe spaces in the church, like where people feel like they can explore those things. And not to say that, it's not healthy for you to completely leave or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But my hope is like, if people come to these points in their life that they feel safe to ask these questions and have these conversations in the church, like in the physical church building, but also with members of the church. But it sounds like that wasn't your experience, because when you mentioned earlier, you said, you tried asking these questions and it was kind of just like
Yeah.
shoved off. Is that correct?
Yeah, and
Is that your
I don't
experience?
think I can like fully blame it because like I'm asking like a bishop who's like a plumber and like a stake president
sure.
who's like
Of
a
course.
contractor, and it's like
Right.
they're gonna have their own understanding of the scriptures
Right.
and like the gospel doctrine, and so it's like I don't think it's entirely fair to say that like I couldn't have asked those questions like in the church. I think when I did, I wasn't getting answers that like were satisfactory to me.
Yeah.
From like the people that I did ask and the way that I went about it. I will say, I think one thing that would help is I just like try to think about if Jesus was real, if Jesus is real, how would he, if he was the clergy of that stake, how would he handle somebody who came to them with doubts, right? I don't think it's going to be blasting them online, telling them how wrong they are, or like, I think it's going to be, let's sit down and talk about it. And it's never going to be forcing your hand. Like that's the whole thing about agency is that like we get to choose for a reason.
Yes.
And that choice, you know, like it is ours to make. And so it's like, I think it would be, and this goes for ex-Mormons too. What would Jesus do? It really comes down to that. Like if we do believe in this like loving, Father and Son and Holy Ghost who like have our best intentions at heart and are like putting us in situations to help us grow and get closer to them. I think that the way that someone like Jesus would handle dissenting questions is understanding it's okay to say I don't know. I also think like I think that's also a thing is like a lot of times we feel like we have to defend our faith and our belief system because we're taught to do it. But you have to but when people have questions, that doesn't mean they're attacking it. If that makes sense?
Yes,
like,
I know.
There's a difference. There are people that attack it for sure.
I know.
For sure. But having questions does not mean it's an attack.
Yeah. Yes. Amen. We could stop right there and it would just be great.
And it would just be like, I think I remember on my mission, like the times that I felt closest to God or what I would say is that feeling for me was when we were like going to people that didn't want to hear our lesson. Like we would knock on their door and they'd be like, we actually are good. We're like, Pentecostal. And then we're like, hey, can we mow their lawn? And they're like, actually, yeah, like we're old. We could use some help.
Yeah.
So we go mow their lawn. We have snacks with them. We like talk about it. Like that to me is like Jesus type ministering. Like if they hear the message, cool. But if not, it literally doesn't change how I feel about them or the interaction. And that like, I think that would be like my plea or request to members of the church is like, don't take it personally. When someone believes differently or leaves or reads some type of material that you would see as like anti or X, it's like, don't take it personally. Like this is an issue most of the time is not with you. And it's the best chance that you have of anything is to just be their friend, love them through it. Hold space for the difference. And that goes for both of us. Hold space for the difference, you know? And I remember like when I was on my mission, there was a point where some elders in our district were Bible bashing with Jehovah's Witnesses. And
great.
And the thing was, hey, we got them. Like we opened up and we showed like where they were wrong in the Bible. And I was like, dude, let's like break this down, okay? Yeah. So let's say that Jehovah's Witness religion is not working for these people 20 years down the road.
Right.
Who's going to be the last person that they're going to go to for comfort in that scenario? Is it going to be the people that bash them about their beliefs on the street? Like, people don't work like that. Like, if you want to be the person that's the solution to their problem, treat them with kindness. Show them love. Be the good Samaritan. Minister to them. It's like... But I get it. I get why we tend to attack that and why we tend to, and it goes on both sides, why we tend to be so vocal about it and protect our beliefs. It's because it's important to us, but that doesn't give us permission to override somebody else's agency to choose what they believe.
Yeah, I love everything that you say. I agree wholeheartedly with everything you say. As someone who I have pretty much read the Book of Mormon every single day since I was 16 and I'm 29. And I am a student of Jesus, like the Book of Mormon and also the Bible. And the more that I study and learn about Jesus Christ, the more that I just am like, this is about loving people no matter what. Like the gospel of Jesus Christ is not about telling people what to do. It's about loving people no matter what they do. And my concern, thank you. Yeah. My concern is when I am a part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where a lot of people believe that Jesus Christ himself is leading the institution, is leading the organization, is leading the people, that if that is the epitome of Jesus, is that love no matter what, and we're professing to follow Jesus Christ in that church, but we're not doing it, that's not very great. Like, that is honestly the most hypocritical thing that you could be doing. Honestly, it's very blasphemous, honestly, because it's just like, okay, like here we are, like saying that we're doing this or that we believe this or this is Jesus's church. And it's like, all right, well, if it is, then hopefully we are acting like Jesus Christ or trying to. And of course, I'm not saying nobody is perfect. I'm not saying that. Yeah. You can't. It's like we're learning how to love like Jesus Christ. But in these scenarios, I would hope for people who genuinely believe that they are in Jesus's church and that Jesus is leading it, that they are mindful of how they treat other people. And recently, President Nielsen, the prophet of the church, like a few months ago, he just talked about how the way you can identify a true disciple of Jesus Christ is by how compassionately they treat other people. And so for me, why I'm really happy that you're here and sharing your experience and like, expressing how you feel and also expressing your hopes for members of the church. I share those same hopes. I'm like, yeah, hopefully that, it doesn't matter if someone leaves the church or not, that when we have a conversation with them, we can still love them. We can still be kind. And you just hit on some really, the tendency to defend is like a real thing in the church, or like the tendency to feel.
Why do you think that is? Like, I'm curious from your perspective, like, because I know like where it comes from on the ex-Mormon side and probably part of the Mormon side, but like, what is your read on that? Why do you think that it is such a defense when someone leaves? Why is that an issue?
Thank you for asking me that question, because I have thought so much about this. Because again, as a student of the scriptures, I'm like, Jesus is not really defending. Like, anything that you read about Jesus in the New Testament. Once in the temple. Yeah, that was
a pretty like egregious thing, right? But for the most part, he's a pretty kind.
That's what I'm saying. He's not like on the defense, or he's not walking around thinking people are attacking him. He's really just helping people feel loved. So I have thought about this a lot. And honestly, a couple of months ago, really what happened was, I don't know if you remember when David Archuleta made that TikTok like a year ago about his, just like he's out of the church and he's so excited. He feels so free. He's not wearing garments. And so many members freaked out about that TikTok, like in the comments. And like you talked about, you briefly mentioned, people saying, oh, like the light has left your eyes. I just remember reading like the top comment, and it was like, it looked like it was like a mission president or something, like who had like his profile. And it was like, I can tell that like you don't have any more light in you or something. And I was just like, what is this person even talking about? Like, Dave, and I'm like, this TikTok that David made is just, he's just celebrating like his newfound identity and like his freedom that he feels like he's just happy. Like, it wasn't derogatory at all. I didn't feel like it was derogatory at all towards the church, but so many people were like, I feel like this is an attack, all these things. Like, it kind of caused like uproar in like the church and in the church online. And that really bothered me, because I am just like, David is doing his thing. I want him to do his thing. Like, it's not, my life isn't revolved around how people perceive God or like what I'm like, I want David Archuleta to find joy, and do I personally believe that he can find that through Jesus Christ? Yes. But like, he's not finding it in the church. So it's just, so anyways, all that to say is I started thinking about this as I was pondering, okay, why are members of the church on the defense? Or like, why do we act as if everyone's attacking us all the time? I thought about generational trauma, and I just honestly, like, the Spirit brought this to my mind because I was really pondering it. And I just was like, okay, in reality, a lot of members, especially a lot of members in Utah, where I feel like these topics are really popular, have ancestors who were severely, severely persecuted for so long. And I believe, and science shows, that trauma stays in the body that's something that modern psychology teaches us. And so for me, I'm like, so many members of the church have these ancestors who went through years and years of being attacked, physically attacked, verbally attacked, all of the worst kind of persecution ever. And that's where so many of us are coming from in the church. And so then if you look at that, then it's only really been a couple generations since that stuff was happening.
And maybe even some of the literature that we read are made by people who were being genuinely severely persecuted at the time. So it's like, that's the rhetoric that's going to be passed forward to the next generation. Through imperfection. Whether it has anything to do with God or not,
Yes. And I think also what happens if, essentially the pioneers moving from the east to over here, exploring a new land, essentially, not like a new land, but a new land for them. They're, in Utah, they kind of, I think what happens is, you're persecuted for so much, then you start to build walls, not just like physical walls, but also like emotional walls. And so then they like are banding together of like, it's kind of us against the world, because back then it was us against the world, right?
There was extermination orders,
the United States government did not like anybody. Nobody liked the members of the church. And so then it's like, well, then they have to band together, and they are experiencing real persecution. So then it starts, the narratives of like us versus them, regardless of, if that was good or not. At the time, probably important for their survival. That belief serves them at the time. However, but then you have, again, we're still fairly like a recent new church. It was only, like the 1800s. And so it's like only been a couple hundred years. And so it's really easy for me to see, especially the older generation of the church, like people 50 and older who had like grandparents and great grandparents who were like closer to that time, to have been taught like narratives of like, us versus them, or, like you can't trust people out of the church, or, like people out of the church always think we're weird. Like that's like kind of the thing. Like I've noticed there's just like a lot of insecurity, and it's not like the church hasn't been made fun of in recent times, or the Book of Mormon musical is a parody, right? It's not like, we've had a lot of positive media, a ton in terms of like, I don't know, accuracy, I guess I would say. But I think that mentality of like people are always out to get us stems from that, and just like has kind of carried on. And now I think in the last decade, or even the last 5 years, or even the last couple years, for me personally, I'm like, and I didn't grow up in Utah. And my grandma was a confer. I don't have like the same, I grew up meeting people from around the world. I'm very comfortable with people with different belief systems, and I'm very confident in myself and my beliefs. So I never was like, I think people think I'm weird. Like I never have thought that. And in all of the conversations I've had with people of different belief systems, everyone's been very respectful. So I don't have this like, oh my gosh, like people are walking around thinking I'm a weirdo because I'm a member of the church. But some people in the church have that.
And I think there's some valid cases where that's probably true.
Yes, well, for sure.
Where it's like you're in a place where you're misunderstood, or it's like you are getting bullied for being a member of the church.
Yes.
Like I don't want to downplay people's experience in the church with like experiencing where it might socially be difficult for them.
For sure. Oh yeah, for
sure.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that, because I don't want to downplay that either, because my experience obviously doesn't speak for everybody's experience in the church. But I think it is important, like as members, to look at ourselves and be like, okay, am I really loving like Jesus Christ today? Am I really loving this person? Or am I just trying to prove something to them? Or am I just trying to be right? Because so many of the conversations that I see online or just in general is from ego, or is like a place of defense, or, like I'm on the attack. And not to say that that's not valid, and not to say that, okay, maybe some of that can't even be fixed unless you're going to therapy and like you're understanding and you're like self-reflecting. Because I've been in therapy.
That's a new science though.
Yes.
We have to recognize that like these types of conversations and all of this
is
a new science.
New. Yes.
Like our parents didn't have access to the internet. Yes. They didn't have access to like the same type of psychotherapy that we had. So like even the ability to like record something like this, put it out as a think piece for other people to hopefully absorb and make their own thoughts about it. That wasn't a thing until like 40 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's very, I think having in my own journey, I mean, what I believe life is about is learning how to love, and like, how can we as a collective love better and fear less? And so for me, even in my journey of, okay, like as someone who really believes in empathy and really practices compassion and all these things, sometimes I get upset when I see other people in the church not doing that. But then I'm like, well, I'm not better than them. You know, like if I'm acting upset towards them, then it's like, well, it's not like I'm not this like, I don't know. I haven't made it to this like dignified state that nobody else has made it. And so it's more of like, okay, how can I love better?
It's not like from a place of authority. It's more of a place of like community. And
like how can we build Zion? Really? Like that's what I'm ultimately concerned about. And for me, Zion again is a state. For me, I know there's a lot of like, oh yeah, like Zion, physical location, all these things. But for me, Zion is like a state of being, you know, like how can we as a collective create a space internally, externally, where there is harmony and love. And so that's where I'm coming from. I'm not coming from like, oh my gosh, like, because I love the church and I love members of the church and I love people who have left the church. And at the same time, I think that really what love is addressing the things that are hard and addressing the things that are painful. And I mean, you mentioned that of like having uncomfortable conversations. And I think sometimes in society and also in the church, we see love as maybe a passive thing or maybe not having accountability. And I think that a lot of people who have left the church or who have issues with religion or just in general are seeing like, oh, there's no accountability here for like these mistakes that people in the church are making or these things that have happened. Like, where is the accountability? And to me, I'm like, that love is a part of accountability. Like, accountability is a part of love. Like, Jesus taught accountability. And so then I'm like, yeah, when people are recognizing, hey, I'm having these experiences at church with people and I've experienced abuse or XYZ or whatever it has been. And I don't feel like anyone's taking accountability for that or the person himself. And if that person's in a leadership position and they're not taking accountability for that, and that makes me uncomfortable or that makes me want to not be a part of this, then I'm like, yeah, that makes total sense. Why would you want to be in a space where you feel not safe? Why would you want that? And like, I believe that's what Jesus wants. Jesus wants the church to be a space where people feel safe. And that includes accountability.
I love that. I love your brain. I like how you think about stuff.
Thank you.
There's one thought that just came to mind I thought might be worth sharing.
Yeah, tell me.
I think that you've probably heard this before, that like when people leave, they can leave the church but not leave it alone, right?
Interesting. I have seen that. Yes.
So people say that. I think for me, I think there might be a little bit of a glimpse into understanding about like, how are we raised to treat the gospel? We go out and we share it with people that don't know. That's what we're asked to do. We're asked to go out and share our beliefs with people that we don't know because we feel like we have something that's important for them, right? So when somebody goes through a genuine faith transition, what are they probably going to do with their new belief system, seeing as that's how they were raised to share their beliefs?
Share it. Yeah.
So I think it's like, you kind of almost just, it's like you switch sides, like, and it's like, it's not even an intentional thing, but I think looking back, I was very vocal at the beginning to my friends and family, like, hey, it's not true. This is why I think it's not true. Here's the evidence. No one wanted to listen.
Yeah.
It wasn't that different from when I was on my mission.
Right. Yeah.
You know? And so I kind of realized, I was like,
name tag back on, wait. But for Ex-Mormons.
I'm like doing the same thing for the other side. And it's just like, wait a minute. Let me think about this.
Right.
Do I have this like mandate to tell other people how to think? I don't think so anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's changed. Is like at first when I left, it was just very much like, for my integrity's sake, I don't think it's true. I got to go tell everyone that I know that it's not true. And then they're like, whoa, dude, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
You used to be so strong. And it's like, you feel crazy. Then you start to feel like the bad guy. Then you get painted out to be the bad guy. And then you're like, oh, wait, I'm just doing the same thing I was doing. And so it's like, that's another thing where you have to reevaluate your belief system. Okay, do I have this like moral mandate to tell people how to think? Do I, of all the billions of people that have existed, am I the one that's figured out reality?
Right.
I don't think so. Chances are, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so that's helped me, I think, de-escalate and not feel responsible for having to tell anyone how to think or believe. I will still be critical of the institution because I think that's the right that everybody has with freedom of speech and living in a free country is to be able to express your opinions and your thoughts. But what I've learned is not okay is picking on people who are trying to be genuine and making a problem where there shouldn't be a problem and personifying your issues in somebody that doesn't deserve it. And I think that can be a problem on both sides of the spectrum. And so I don't know. I just thought that might be an interesting perspective on it, where it's like, why do you think that they would come and try to convince everybody to leave or talk about it or be so open about it? It's because that's how they were taught to be about their beliefs. And so it's like, I think that it plays against everybody. It's not a good trait to get defensive about your beliefs in the way where it causes you to rift relationships.
Yeah. Man, that's such a good thought. Thank you for that. And again, I'm just thinking about Jesus because Jesus is in my opinion, the perfect example of love. And Jesus wasn't going around freaking out about people's beliefs. Like he wasn't ripping anyone open or trying to prove. He wasn't trying to prove,
he spent time with the homeless, with prostitutes, the degenerates of society. And he spent time feeding them, ministering to them, being kind to them. Like, I just don't think he was on Facebook, like, Bible bashing. Like, I couldn't see that ever. Like,
I just made a video a couple weeks ago where I just asked members of the church, if Jesus had a podcast, would he be rage baiting? No. Like,
I just can't see it. I can't see it.
He's not. He wouldn't be doing that. And I personally believe too, that he listened a lot more than he talked, because that's how you help someone feel loved. That's how you help someone feel seen and heard and supported, is by hearing their story and just being there for them in their experience. And I think that's, what we struggle with as members is this, again, and you touched on this, like, you want to tell people what to do. Like, you want to tell. And it's just, people don't really need that unless, you feel called or they ask.
I think it's okay to, like, talk about it. Like, but it's like, it's how you do it.
Yes.
That's really what it comes down to. It is all about the delivery.
Yes.
And it's all about being intentional about who you're talking to and what you're actually saying.
Yes.
Because it's really easy for you to say to me, you've lost the light in my eyes, and say like, oh, you were brainwashed. Like, that's the classic Ex-Mormon Mormon.
I cannot. I apologize to everybody who has ever had that said to them. I'm so sorry.
It's not real. None of that's real.
Right.
We're just people trying to figure this stuff out, and it's okay to not know how to handle it, first of all, because it's really complicated and very.
Yes.
Having somebody leave the church is a jarring experience.
Yes.
I remember when I had friends leave the church before I did, jarring.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
Right.
You like helped me have my testimony.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like this.
Right.
I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I get it. I genuinely do. I genuinely understand.
It's very, speaking from a perspective of someone in the church who has had people that she loves leave the church, it is hard. It is jarring. Because I love the church. I love being a member. I love the Book of Mormon. I love Jesus Christ, and it's been really a positive experience for me. And so, but again, like to our point earlier, I understand that everybody has a different journey and is their own person. And I especially don't want people to be in a space where they feel like they don't feel safe or they feel like they can't be honest. And I just believe that honesty is at the heart of spirituality. And honesty is at the heart of God. And if you don't feel like you can be honest, it's just, I want you to be in a space where you feel like you can be honest and grow. And so, but holding space for both of those things, that it's, I understand and have been in those positions where I'm like, dang, kind kind of hard. Someone that I really love is taking a different path than what I thought. But then it doesn't bother me too much because it's their life, and I just, again, going back to Jesus Christ, he met people all the time who didn't do what he was teaching, and he still thought they were great, still served them, still hung out with them.
It wasn't a factor in his decision to spend time with them or to minister them or to give them company or bread. It had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the belief is that we're all God's children.
Right.
We're all equal in God's eyes. And so it's regardless of what our veiled minds believe, that shouldn't be the deciding factor in how we treat people.
Yeah. And I think too, I want to maybe speak a little bit on some tension points that members of the church might be experiencing too. I think even just having this conversation, if I'm being really aware right now, if someone's watching this in the church, it might be kind of a radical experience for them to hear this conversation.
It's kind of a radical conversation.
Yeah, it's kind of radical in general, but just to have this, because there are totally valid experiences that members in the church are having where they feel like they can't talk like this or have a conversation with someone who has left the church, or someone who, I was just talking to someone in my community who I let them know, hey, I'm doing this podcast. I'm really excited. And she said, oh, I've only ever known a lot of ex-Mormons who are just extremely hateful and full of animosity towards members of the church. And are you sure you want to do that? Kind of a cautionary, are you sure you want to have this conversation? And so I recognize that a lot of members, their experiences, they might not have experiences with people who have left the church, or they might not have had a lot of in-depth conversations with people who have left the church. And then what they see is just what they see online, where we're going to both acknowledge that there is a lot of hate, that sometimes members get for being members of the church.
We've seen it. It's happened on your platform.
It's not like a surprise. So there are members who, have that experience where they just see ex-Mormons who hate the church and that's it. And there are a lot of members who feel okay, it's my responsibility to defend against them. I have to go and I have to share and I have to be this is the right way. And those come from really valid places. I want the people watching this maybe or listening to, if you feel that or you practice that, to know that that's a valid experience, and to know that whatever led you to that belief and experiences is really valid, because you have had your own life experiences in the church, and maybe you personally have experienced a lot of pain at the hand of people who have left the church. I've had some people recently in my comment section just be I'm one of the only people who are in the church in my family still, and I've experienced a lot of unkindness. And so that's real. That's so real. And you mentioned earlier, when people are in that stage of not necessarily deconstruction, but reflection or whatever it is as they're leaving the church, they do have a lot of anger or pain or, and all those things. And then sometimes project that onto people. That's real, And so for the people who are watching this, who are in that experience and maybe necessarily haven't had a positive experience with someone who has left the church, your feelings are valid. That is a very painful experience, because you care a lot about God. You care a lot about the church. You care about people finding joy. And then when someone comes to you online or in person and tears you down or shames you or bullies you, that's so painful and it's so hurtful. And really, it's not okay that the other person does that. And so, I just want to hold that space too.
I love it.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Cause and speaking from my own experience, Brendon briefly mentioned this earlier, but a month ago I made a reel on Instagram, literally just a 10-second thing about how much I love Jesus. And I had a Book of Mormon in the video. That was it. Didn't even mention the Book of Mormon. And I had an ex-Mormon content creator who stitched my video and just made fun of me, essentially. And then I It was very surprising. I'd never had anything like that happen before. And I felt prompted to respond with like a lot of empathy and with a lot of love. And then she just continued to bully me and send me a bunch of messages, cussing me out and all these things. And my initial reaction was just, man, she must be in a lot of pain if she has this much anger and she's making this content all the time. She clearly has had experiences that have led to this point where she's making this content. That was my initial reaction. But at the same time, it was also like sad because like I've never had anyone talk to me like
this
that.
Is like coming out of nowhere.
I'm like,
I'm just trying to like share my beliefs.
Yeah, I've never had anyone say any of those things to me. And so it was just like, oh, okay. Yeah.
And to be fair, super uncalled for. Like I read through it, like absolutely uncalled for. Like there was no reason that anyone should treat someone like that.
No, it was very, and it's so interesting because it did remind me a little bit of the mission. But I think sister missionaries, I mean, I can't speak for every sister missionary, but I remember talking to some elders who like always had like the door slamming in their face and seemed to have a little bit more inflammatory conversations than my companions and I did. And I know there's like, maybe some differences between sisters on a mission and elders and like how people treat you in public. So I didn't personally have like a ton of experiences on the mission where people were like outwardly hateful towards me. I had one in particular that was so painful and I just went home and I cried about it. But like primarily like hadn't had experienced that much hate before from someone until this person a month ago on social media. So
where did you go in your mission?
I served in Southern California.
Oh, crazy.
The desert of Southern California. So not like LA or anything. I served, do you know Joshua Tree National Park?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
area, amazing.
Palm
That's
Springs
cool.
area, very small desert towns in the middle of nowhere, which I'm from a small desert town in Arizona. So it was perfect for me. I loved it. People were like, why do you love this so much? It's kind of like the ghetto of Southern California. I'm like, well,
like this is home, baby.
I'm like, this is home. But anyways, all that to say, yeah, I just wanted to share that because I think that's what members are dealing with too.
I don't think it's not. I think it's real. I think you're right. There is a lot of clashing online.
Yeah.
You just like have this new medium of communicating with each other and sharing information. We're all trying to figure out how to use it and what to do.
Yeah.
I think that my response to that I would love to speak to maybe some of the ex-Mormons that might see this and just, it's like the way I think about it is if you find like a wolf in the wild with their leg caught in a bear trap, what are they going to do when you try to get them out of the bear trap? They're going to bite at you.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of simple creatures that when things happen to us that are fundamentally traumatic or very difficult, it's very easy to try to inflict that pain on others. That's just a pretty base human thing. We see it from children bullying each other all the way up to wars and like it doesn't stop. And so I think that if you are going through what I went through where you are facing a potential faith transition, it's not working for you, get yourself in therapy. That's the first thing. Go to therapy and work through those anger issues because you're just gonna, and speaking honestly from some experience of some of the interactions I had with my family, I maybe regret in those first few months or year or two.
Oh, interesting.
I was in a lot of pain and I think I let that get in the way of some of those relationships. And so I think the first thing is go to therapy, learn to work through that anger, and then just take some time. Don't do anything. Let it settle for a bit and like give yourself some time to reframe, to heal, and don't project it onto other people because it's really easy to say, oh, look at me. I figured out this new way of life and new thinking pattern that's way better. And guess what? Your old thinking pattern's old and bad. And it's like, but the truth is, you're never really going to know. It's not like I'm in this place of like great certainty now. Like I'm in a different place that works for me and it works for me, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody else. And it doesn't give me a license to go out there and be hurtful and harmful. Now, I do think there's a place for like genuine discourse and talking about difficult topics and experiences if that both parties are consented and want to have that conversation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But like just going and hammering on somebody and saying, here's all the reasons why it's not true. It's not going to be effective.
Right.
It's going to make them feel not good.
Right.
And it's going to make you seem like a jerk.
Right.
That's what you're going to accomplish. And guess what?
Right.
You're not doing anything positive in that interaction.
Yeah. I feel like the same thing could be applied to members as well in terms of like how they communicate online or how we communicate with people in person versus online who believe differently. You saying XYZ or you just telling people that the light is left their eyes or whatever you're telling them, just maybe asking ourselves like, why are we doing that? Like maybe reflect on like, okay, like, do you really need to say this?
Yeah,
like,
why do I feel the need to engage
here? Why are we
Why do I feel the need to like hop in here?
Yeah.
It's like
a primal instinct.
Listening, like Jesus, like you said.
Yeah.
Take that listening seat. I don't have to prove something here.
Yes.
And that goes for that goes for Ex-Mormons.
Well, that goes for every person alive, right?
Yeah.
Like, do we need to prove ourselves to everyone? No.
I don't think we do.
Yeah, I don't think we do either.
I don't think that's what letting your light shine forth is.
No, it's not.
It's like mounting.
Yes. Being yourself.
Expressing openly, which I think everyone should have the ability to do. I should be able to talk about my issues with the church. You should be able to go and evangelize the church to people who need it. It's like, that's one of the beautiful things about freedom and being able to have freedom of speech. But at the same time, it doesn't give us a license to go out and be aggressive and unkind. And we have an issue with that on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? And let me just check time-wise. Okay. What do you think, would be the takeaway? Like, what do we think we could say or share that's like, okay, how can we do that? How can we move forward? You know, what are some tips or tricks? Or, I mean, you mentioned therapy, obviously, and I would recommend that for everyone too. I mean, I would say, you know, everyone can do their own thing. But for me personally, in terms of emotional intelligence and emotional regulation, therapy has been super helpful for me. Journaling has been super helpful for me. Prayer has been super helpful for me. Really, ultimately, though, if I'm advising members of the church, as we study the Book of Mormon, as we study the Bible, and we really reflect on Jesus's character and how he treats people, that's like, hopefully we can internalize that a little bit more. But
you don't make peace with your friends. You make peace with your enemies.
Yeah.
You make peace with the people that it's hard to make peace with. Like that at the end of the day is like the hurdle.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think it comes down to when you're getting those feelings of feeling like I have to stand up and do this thing, like examine that. Take some time to sit with it before you do it. Take some time to sit with it and say, why am I doing this? What are we going to get out of this? Is this going to be a positive thing, or is this just going to perpetuate hurt, you know? And I think that it really comes down to what I've learned in therapy is pausing and not emotionally reacting. So as soon as those emotions come up and you feel I have to defend or attack, think about that before you do it. I feel like the best piece of advice that I've gotten is I never respond when I'm emotionally elevated. I never respond until I'm not emotionally elevated anymore. So if something bad, really bad happens, unless it warrants like an immediate response, I try to take some time to like not emotionally react. I want to have that point where it's like I've listened to my conscience, or what I would still call as the feeling of kind of like the spirit.
or for sure.
That feeling hasn't really gone away for me. It's just kind of changed and morphed. Taking time to listen to that, which is kind of what comes in the moment, but then also taking time to like let it sit and then cognitively think it through. That would solve so many problems. I think in miscommunication is learning to not engage while you're elevated.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. I second all of that. And I'm also just going to add another thing for my amazing people who are watching this, my amazing friends in the church. I think really asking yourself who you are. Who are you as a literal divine being, as a literal son or daughter of God? And what is your role as a disciple of Jesus Christ? What is your role? Like, what does Jesus want us to be doing? What does he want us to be doing every day? What does he want us to be doing in everyday interactions with people? And there's actually mind if I pull up a scripture?
Not at all.
Okay. I just am thinking about this at the top of my head as we were about to And this is one of my favorites.
It's been a pretty good conversation.
Yeah.
What do you think? Can ex-Mormons and Mormons be friends?
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah, that's a good question to end
like
on.
that.
I think yes, wholeheartedly and 1,000,000%, yes, we can be friends.
And while you're pulling that up, if there's just something came to mind, if you wouldn't mind me sharing.
Sure.
But on my mission in North Carolina, in the boonies, those wards were the closest to like the ideal of Christ, like missionary work or outreach that I'd seen, because there were so many like mixed faith marriages out there, or people who were in the community, but they would do things like barbecues and pig pickings where everyone was invited, and they would occasionally ask them to go to the missionaries. Some of them would say no for 15 years. They would still show up to the events where it's like, it didn't matter whether Brother Johnson was taking the lessons or not. It didn't matter. They were still there helping with the yard. They were still inviting him to all the events. It wasn't a factor on whether that person deserved to be ministered and loved to. And I think that that's where we all should get, where it's like, we shouldn't, those of us that have left the church shouldn't be judging people because of they're in the institution you used to be in. It's ludicrous to like, when you really break it down, you're like, I'm judging myself. You know, it's like not,
interesting.
It's not good. And so it's like, I think we can all move forward to spending time together, ministering to each other, being there for each other when we're sick, bringing each other meals, inviting to community events. And it's okay for us to have conversations about leaving the church or coming back to church or invitations, but let's not make it conditional. Let's just be there and offer that kindness and that support. And it's not like if they don't do this, then they're not included. Like on both sides of it, I think is what, to me, I think is how we can move towards a more Christ-like type of understanding with each other.
Yeah. And just to tag onto that too, what can we do as members of the church to make the church a place where people want to be, where everyone wants to be, and it's like, okay, you can have community events and the people are like, oh yeah, like I can feel safe there, or I feel safe in this community or with these people. Like, it's our response, as members of the church and as disciples of Jesus Christ, hopefully we can take that responsibility a little bit more seriously of like, okay, yeah, those people out in North Carolina, and and I grew up where I'm from. I grew up 5 minutes away from the largest Native American reservation in the country. So 80% of my high school is Native American. My experiences in church were largely with the Navajo culture. Very, very beautiful culture, very humble people, kind of same experience, that you had in North Carolina.
Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah, it's just like
it comes back to like the Utah has its history. It has
yes.
I get it.
Which
I
is
totally
okay. And
understand. It's okay.
We love Utah,
Yeah.
and we love people in the church in Utah, and we love that, it's, yes, everybody comes from different
The Utah
experiences.
church gets too much flack.
Oh, for sure.
There's great people in the Utah church.
Oh my gosh, for sure. I mean, I live in Utah and I'm in the church, so I would, but yeah, it does. And
there's the
so
dissenters in every group.
Yes.
There's jerks in the Mormon church. There's jerks in the ex-Mormon community. There's jerks in the Catholic church.
Yeah.
There's also really good people in all of those institutions.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, and that I think too, in terms of my journey with empathy and compassion and being a disciple of Jesus Christ, the more I met people from all around the world and the more I exposed myself to different cultures and beliefs, the more I'm like, there are phenomenal people everywhere you go. Like, regardless of belief system, regardless of religion.
My favorite person I met on my mission, she was a Pentecostal holiness preacher.
Yes.
Her name was Audrey.
Yes.
She was in her 60s. She fostered 30 children.
Oh my gosh.
She read the Bible for 3 hours a day in the morning.
Yes.
It's like, these are good people.
No, they're amazing.
Like dedicated their life to building up Christ's kingdom from a completely different perspective.
Right. Well, and even people who don't believe in Jesus, like I know some really, really devout Muslims who are just so God-focused and so beautiful, and they're so good. And people who aren't even religious at all, who just do so much good work for the world. It's just, that's God. God is a God of love and compassion and unity and growth and enlightenment. And anywhere that you find that is where you find God, So... Good. So yeah, people are amazing. There's amazing people everywhere you go. And I think when we focus on that and learning about people and loving them where they're at, instead of trying to tell people what to do or trying to tell them like that they're wrong, our lives are just better no matter what. Can I end with the scripture?
Absolutely.
I don't know why that final. This is 4th Nephi. This is one of my favorite chapters, one of my favorite verses. And it is about a people who in the Book of Mormon are the happiest people, or that God deems as the happiest people. For those of us who've never read 4th Nephi, just so you know. And it has this verse that I love, and it says, "And it came to pass that there was no contention in the land because of the love of God, which did dwell in the hearts of the people. And there were no envyings, nor strifes, nor tumults, nor whoredoms, nor lyings, nor murders, nor any manner of lasciviousness. And surely there could not be a happier people among all the people who had been created by the hand of God." I love those verses. I love it because it's saying, essentially, they don't have any compassion and they don't have any contention.
Kind of gives you like the prerequisites for that condition. It's like, if you want to be like happy, here's like the principles to follow.
Yeah, it's like, okay, if you don't want contention, if you don't want murders, if you don't want all these things, what is it? They were able to develop that because of the love of God, which should dwell in the hearts of the people. So then our question should be, how can I develop the love of God in my heart? What can I do today to develop God's love in my heart? What can I do tomorrow? How can I have God's love in my heart for myself, for others, for my community, for people who have left the church, for people who are in the church? I think that question, and of course, you know, people define God differently, or people, you know, might define love differently, but there's like that commonality of how can I love better? I think, and the more that we seek to answer that question, regardless of where we're at in our faith journeys, or in the church or out of the church, or spirituality or not spirituality, what can I do to love people better? That is the question that I think if we all intentionally ask that, honestly could heal the world.
Do you think, I know we're trying to wrap it up here, do you have any ideas of as an active member of the church, is there anything that people who have left can do to help you not feel like it's personal, or help you not feel judged, or help you feel accepted? Is there things that we can do, or maybe some perspectives that haven't been considered to be able to help give members of the church that same grace and understanding?
Yeah, that's such a good question and a beautiful offer. And honestly, I think just engaging in conversations like this, like if anyone's watching this and has a friend who has left the church, or, you know, you've wanted to have a conversation with, but you haven't, I think trying to have open conversations like this is probably the best thing. Because I think it, again, comes back to this idea of, I'm not expecting, you know, how I feel is not based on like what other people are doing. Right. And so for me, it's just, I'm like, okay, yeah, do your thing. I don't have any attachment to that. And so for me, like, I mean, I loved having this conversation with you. And I think that people who have left the church, if they, you know, maybe be open to having a conversation like this of, hey, you know, obviously I left the church and, you know, we're seeing things a little bit differently, but maybe we can chat about how we can be there for each other. I think that answer is going to be different for everybody, right? And whether it's their friend, whether it's their partner, whether it's their coworker, you know, all these things of like, hey, I'm having this experience and I'm scared. You know, like I think that maybe is a good, I don't know if I feel like I have to add anything because you just exemplified everything so perfectly of what like I would hope would happen between like members and people who have left the church, is like just being honest about your experience. You're just like, because you're coming from a place of like, I was doing all these things and then I just felt differently one day. And just being honest about that and approaching it with honesty and approaching it with vulnerability of like, this was really scary for me. Or like, I'm experiencing this right now and it's really scary for me. And I, am having a hard time and I don't want to lose our relationship, but I'm also navigating this. And so I think approaching it with honesty and vulnerability would be helpful for like members of the church, because then they would see like, oh, like this is a person that is hurting and not necessarily a person that is coming after me.
I love that, because I think one thing that comes to mind while you were saying that as well is I think there's this like fear of information and fear of having things used against you when you're trying to be vulnerable from both sides.
Yeah.
So there's like this fear of like, okay, if I have this conversation with this ex-Mormon, they're going to bring up this ex-Mormon material I'm not supposed to hear about and not supposed to learn, because then it's going to like trick me into like not believing my testimony. So like there's a fear from that side of like, if I have this conversation, I'm going to be exposed to material that could shake my faith.
Wow, you're so amazing.
Right? And then I think on the other side, there's this side of if I open up and talk about this, I'm going to be viewed as like a heretic.
Yes.
Like I'm going to be viewed as this person that is like delving into these bad things. And it's like, it's almost like there's so much unspoken that it's very hard to, but we didn't even talk about any of that today. Yeah. And I don't think we needed to. It's like, there's no like, and I think that's where it's like, take a look at what do you actually have to talk to these people about? Yeah. It's like, we're not in the business of trying to convert each other back to anything.
Right.
We're just being friends and talking about the reality of what it's like to live as a person of faith and someone who's left.
Yeah. And how can I be a good friend? How can I love someone? Basically, like, how can I love you where you're at? Like, how can I love and respect you as a friend, as a coworker, as a partner, as a brother, as a sister, whatever it is. It's not stepping away from this idea that you have to change each other's minds.
Exactly. It's like, that is the big issue. It's like we're trying to like duke it out.
That's just not, well, and it's not even in alignment with the doctrine, because like we believe that it's only like the Spirit that actually changes the hearts of people.
Is the true teacher, right?
And so then it's like, all right, so maybe step away from that. Let's all step away from like trying to change someone, which comes from a very real fear, comes from like the desire to control. We all like want to control things. So we're like, okay, if we can make other people do this, then like we're going to feel okay. And it's just like, that's not real. Like
that's what holding space is. Is holding space means you're not taking it in. You're giving somebody else space to express. And you're not, it's like, I don't know who said it, but there's a quote. It's like, a wise man is someone who can hear information and not take it in. It's like, that's what holding space is, where it's like I would hope that we get to the point where we're not so afraid of hearing somebody's perspective. And that it changing us. That we choose to not engage with people that we love. And that we let that be a barrier where it's like the unknown, unsaid is so scary that I'd rather not reach out and love. And it's like, it's a personal skill that we can learn, I think, to hold space for those perspectives.
And even like the term hold space, we recognize that is a fairly new term as well. Like that comes with psychology, that comes with all of this new science about emotional intelligence and emotional capacity and all of those things. And so it's, we're all learning this together. It's not like you and I are like these, newfound, like, pioneer
we're just
genius
two people trying to figure this out.
Like, it's like, I'm navigating people leaving the church in my life all the time, and like, I'm navigating being in the church all the time. And like, what does that mean? And like, what does that look like? And, what does this mean for, my integrity? And like, how can I love God? How can I love others? And how can I love myself? And so I think just, stepping away from the trying to prove and just trying to have an honest conversation, which is...
It almost sounds like the solution to both sides.
Yeah, it's definitely it. I think, we encourage everybody who's watching this, like regardless of where you're at, like on either side, that, how can you just be more open and honest? And it is scary and it's hard to be talking about things that are personal and painful, but if you're really trying to do it from a place of understanding and love and not trying to convince the other person, then you're
It'll
winning.
eventually shake out.
Yeah.
Sometimes the emotions are high and it takes months or years for all to settle because it's a foundational thing, leaving a religion.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to holding space, making intentional decisions, not like being reactive, and you'll have a much better, easier time resolving it.
Yeah. And maybe that's where we can end, is just maybe you share a little bit about like where you're at now and like where your family is at now too.
Yeah.
Like to give some hope that it's not that
First
you're not
couple
still
of years
working.
were really hard.
Yeah. Okay.
There was some tiffs in the family.
Yeah.
There was some misunderstandings. After I feel like they settled and saw me that I wasn't like, this wasn't a phase. Like, first of all, this is like who I am, and I'm trying to be honest with it and forthcoming. And I think there was a lot more acceptance and a lot more respect. And I feel like I had to gain that because I didn't come out of the gate as kind as I am now about it. If I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
So I think that's a part where I have tried to apologize to the people that I may have hurt their feelings or have been too intense. But I think that's the first thing I'd like to say is that like I've gotten to a place where I think everyone has their own belief system and is entitled to that. And I don't look at members of the church and be like, you're wrong or like, that's just not like how I'm being it these days. And I think for me, it's like we've gotten to a place of respect where I go to family events, they do family prayers, they share scriptures.
Right.
I am myself, you know, I am myself. And they're like, okay with that. I think as far as like my religious beliefs, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would say I always joke, like I would say I'm an atheist, but I like to be fun at parties. So I'm not going to say that. But no, I would say I'm more of like agnostic leaning atheist where I don't know. Like, and I think I've gotten to a place where I'm comfortable with not knowing, where it's like, the prescription of belief, like worked for a long time for me. But now it's like, not knowing is difficult in its own way. It brings those challenges of like, what happens when a loved one dies, or like what happens, like, you know, when these horrible life things happen.
What do you?
I just don't know, and I don't feel like I'm the one that's going to figure it out of the billions of people that have been alive. But I do work on myself every day to. I believe in what I believe in. I do believe in love. I believe in kindness. I believe as humans, that's like the unique thing that we get to exemplify outside of the animal kingdom is we get to be kind and generous and be able to really, pay something forward and create something that didn't exist before. So I don't really have like I would say like solid belief system or transition or story.
Right.
I just have gotten to a place where I'm okay not knowing and not understanding and realizing that for me, that's the most authentic place I can be right now. I don't know. That could change. Maybe I go through some faith transition in the future and I go back or I go to a new place or I just stay where I am. I don't know. I'm open to it. You know, I like to say that I'm open to any new information. I'm open to any type of perspective. But for me, I just there's no like institution or belief system that like aligns with how I see the world. And so I just try to operate on a level of, I don't know. So I'm not going to like go and judge other people. And I'm also not going to like evangelize that, because I don't know, but I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Might sound weird to people, but that's what works for me.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. Just thank you for being here, and we're almost done. We have like one more minute. Yeah.
We just had someone
Oh, okay. Yeah. We will. Oh yeah. We are wrapping up right now.
Cool.
Okay. Yay.
Amazing.
Well, everybody. Yay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for you being willing to have this conversation and for sharing your experience and for listening to me as well and for being open and for being empathetic. I really, really appreciate your openness and your thoughts. And maybe we'll do like a part 2 of this episode, depending on what people say. And just to everybody who is watching this, just know that I love you and I'm grateful that you're listening to this, and I believe that God loves you, and I believe that the love of God is the solution to the world's problems and to whatever you're facing. And I hope you know that it is possible that you can be in the church, you can have these questions, you can have these conversations, you can go to the temple, you can read the scriptures, and you can still be friends with someone who has left the church, and also like still be questioning where you're at in your own faith and spiritual journey. We're all just on this floating planet, just trying to figure things out. And so wherever you're at in your faith journey, and wherever it takes you, just know that God loves you, and I'm here for you, and Brendon's here for you too. If anyone has any questions for either of us
or hate comments, I can take
or
it.
hate comments,
Just kidding.
we're here for you. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and tune in to the next Honest Hand show.
Woo!
Yay! Wow. Okay. Wow.